what we're going to talk about today is really about kind of like that piece of like decision making and things that kind of keep us stuck. So like how to stop making seven-figure decisions from a six-figure nervous system. I said this in my email, but like there is nothing wrong with if you don't want seven figures. But like the point I wanted to make with that title is most business owners that I know that are really happy in their business have expanded their capacity around this, are looking at things really differently, are approaching decision making really differently. And so it's not just about like how much you want to make, but about how you want to feel in your business, how you want to feel in making decisions, how you want to feel in going to your next level, all of that. So that's really what we're going to dive into today. I feel like there's so much I want to cover here, so I'll do my best to be brief. But as a reminder, if you're here, say hi. We do a giveaway every week, $100 gift card or any of my products, just as a thank you for being here, listening to me yap. I know it's no small thing to spend your time listening to this. So anyway, as a thank you, any comment, you're entered to win. So let me know if you're here, say hi. Let me know how you're feeling about those questions you have, all the things. Hey, Lauren, thank you for being here. Okay, so ultimately, I feel like the biggest uh, thing we can kind of start with here is like, if you've ever felt like you're doing all the right things strategically, sometimes this is the problem. I'm not saying it's always the problem. I'm not saying you don't have to have strategy. I'm just saying that if you're like, I really have the strategy set up and I can't get past that, sometimes this isn't, because strategy can scale faster than your capacity, meaning like it's kind of simple in a sense. I mean, you get what I'm saying. It's kind of simple to be like, oh, okay, the business is just now set up to hold more. Like I created another program, have a new offer, like it can hold a lot more people. So the strategy can scale quite fast in the sense that like, almost overnight, your business could be set up to make seven figures or to like hold seven figures worth of like income and clients. But if you have not made that transition to that overnight, which of course you're not making that overnight, it can feel like there is a mismatch, like there's dissonance, like, wait, I've set it all up for this. I'm doing all the right things and it doesn't feel like it's coming in. A lot of times this is why. Um, I feel like, hey Rachel, thank you. So happy to have you. I feel like what I see with so many people where they kind of get like tripped up or stuck here is that they want the like outcome of the seven-figure business, but their brain is looking for a way to get that doesn't involve a lot of the things that come with it. And that's where it gets really tricky. Certainly there are many things about making seven figures that become easier. Like you can hire more team, you have more resources, you have more stability in terms of income, et cetera, et cetera. But there are plenty of things that become hard too, right? You do have more team, you do have a lot more to manage, you do have more clients, you have more people in your field, you're more visible, like whatever that is. And for so many of us, our brain tells us the story that like we want to make X, but we don't want to deal with all those things that come with it. And that's where we hit the wall, like almost every time. And so when we can go, oh, okay, what does it look like to feel equipped to deal with those things, to feel capable of dealing with those things, to have a plan to deal with those things, to feel resilient enough to deal with those things? It actually gets so much easier when we're like, I have to find a way to build the business that doesn't have those things be part of it. That's when everyone gets so strategy obsessed. Um, and just like goes down rabbit hole after rabbit hole, being like, oh, someone must know how to tell me how to like build the business where I don't have to deal with like people ever being mad at me or something like that. Hey, Mary, happy to have you. And that, I hate to say it, like, I'm not trying to be like a negative Nancy here today, but like, that is just bullshit. Like, there is no one that doesn't have to deal with different things as their business grows. There is no one that doesn't go, yeah, it's amazing that I've made more money, but also, wow, this thing over here is like really a lot more than it used to be at this amount of money. Like, that's kind of how it works. And I feel like whenever we're like really, really pushing against that, oh, hold on, sorry, let me fix this. Remove. Awesome. Great. Hey, Jessica. It's good to have you. Um, okay, great. I feel like I'm back in my Periscope days, like having to remove someone from a live stream is so weird. Um, but anyway, I think that so many people really find themselves stuck here, and it just sends them on this crazy chase in our industry. And our industry will tell you over and over again, like, oh yeah, here's a way to do it that like isn't hard at all and only involves ease and that's where people get stuck is they're like, well, if I just keep chasing that, I'll eventually find it. Instead of being like, wait, I have to like upgrade how I think about things, how I make decisions, what I can hold in order to be able to grow. So like the example we'll use to start with is like, you know, yeah, someone just commented about um like following someone else to learn how to make money like fire start. I didn't even read the whole thing, but it was basically just like, a scam of like follow this person to da da da. Um anyway. Um we'll use the thing, we'll just use a clients as an example, right? So say you making six figures and that looked like having 20 clients. Well, maybe at seven, that looks like 200 clients, right? And there's so much stuff that comes with that. What is it like to not know every one of your clients' names? Does your body feel safe with that? Or does that feel really scary? What is it like to have 200 chances for someone to be upset with you instead of 20? What does it look like to have, a business that's holding that many people and the amount of team members that you have to have in order to do that? What does it look like to deal with, you know, 10% more challenges related to all of those clients? What does it look like? There's so much that comes with that. And so I think again, to go back to that point, what most people do is they go, oh, I want to find the way for it to go from 20 clients to 200 clients or students and not experience like any of the stuff that comes with that. And that's where we get stuck. Instead of going, oh, if I go from 20 clients to 200 clients, I'm going to have to get really comfortable with all the stuff that comes with that. And maybe that's my work. Like maybe that's the thing I need to focus on. Jess said, oh, that would feel crazy not to know my clients' names. Right. Like it's something to think about. Hey, Lacey. Where you're like, oh, wait, like that does feel so like crazy to me. Maybe I want that. Maybe I don't, just from like do you want that perspective? But if you're like, I want that, but I can't like make right now my brain doesn't feel okay with that, then like that's work, right? Lauren said this is where so much of my own work and my clients' work really lives. Totally. And I think it just doesn't always get talked about enough because it's so much more appealing to go, well, can I just have the business where like 200 clients means no one complains or like no one, whatever. But it's true. If you're going to have that many people running through a program or being a student of yours or whatever, like there is a point where you're like not going to know all of their names and you could disappoint someone and you have many more chances to like get it wrong. I think another really good example of this is like the visibility aspect that comes with all of this. So many people, are like, oh, I really like want more reach and I want more clients and I want all of these things. But then you're like, okay, so like, are you willing to deal with like negative comments? Are you willing to deal with everything that comes with virality? Are you willing to handle all of that? They're like, oh, you've misunderstood. No, no, no. I don't want that kind of reach. I want the kind that's like just to ideal clients. Right. And you're like, yeah, it like, unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. And so that's really a thing that we have to close the gap on again, instead of going, well, what's the strategy where like I can make sure that like this only reaches the perfect amount of people in the perfect way and they all think I'm great and they all understand me and there's no confusion whatsoever. Like you'll spin your wheels on that for fucking ever. You know what I mean? Um, Same, Megan said, true. Mary said, so many more people to reject, judge, and criticize you. 100%. 100%, Rachel. Just that I always know every single client, even if it's even when it's been like 60 at a time. But yeah, I guess with 200, that'd be hard. Although I used to be a teacher of like 200 kids and knew all their names. Listen, that is a skill set, woman. But yeah, totally. I mean, I think it's probably possible, but I think like even thinking about like the amount of work that probably went into you, like knowing, categorizing, remembering all their names, like even that's like a trade-off. If you're like, okay, well, I want that many people and I want to know their names. Am I ready to put in the amount of work required to do that? Like even that's a question, you know? Mary said it's a full package, one that comes with everything else. Hey, Michelle. Yeah, totally. And so, I think that there are no ways to control all of this, like where you can make sure that like you get the perfect 200 people and no one ever has a problem, or you get the reach that goes to the exact right people and everyone understands you. Like it truly is so impossible to do that. um and spending all this like time, money, and energy trying to find someone that will teach you how to do that, realizing like it's not even possible, is such a crazy game that happens in our industry a lot. Yeah, it was exhausting. Then right. Exactly that. Rebecca said, I do only want to reach people who like me though. Right, totally. And that's like the upgrade, is to be like, wait, that's gonna happen. I actually I went to this, that's why Sarah was in town. I went to this event with her yesterday. Um with Shannon Watts. If you guys don't know who Shannon Watts is, she's awesome. She is the founder of Moms Demand Action. So it's like a grassroots like movement around like gun reform and regulation. And she basically told this story where she was talking about how when she started Moms that um she saw a truck like driving around outside of her house over and over and over again. And she was like, very like, oh, something's not right here. And so she called the police and was like, hey, this weird thing's happening. Like, here's what's going on. Like, could you send someone out? And the officer said to her, well, ma'am, that's what happens when you mess with the Second Amendment. Come on. And she was talking about how like at that moment she kind of like had a choice to either be like, oh, like if this is what comes with it, that's not worth it, or to be like doubling down kind of thing. And obviously I'm not trying to compare what we're doing to like activism, totally different thing, but I think it's a really good lens, and it was such a good story to hear her tell on like, yes, like all of these things that like matter so much to us and are important, and we want this message in the hands of the right people, and it feels so valuable and meaningful to us. It is going to come with this other stuff, right? Like imagine, being Shannon, like in her home with the police officer being like, you get what you get, bitch, like you have to go, okay, can my system hold that? Like, am I able to handle this? Can I regulate through this? Can I get through this? And if the answer is no, like you stop. And the reason she is, up on that stage and has written like multiple books and created like an absolute I think one of the biggest like grassroots organizations in the country, maybe if not the biggest, is because she was like, no, like I have to kind of like double down and figure out how I can like handle and hold this. And I'm not saying everyone should do that, right? Like she's obviously incredibly inspiring and an anomaly. And again, I'm not trying to compare activism here, but what I am saying is like all of this shit comes with that shit. And it's so easy to like look at her now and be like, oh yeah, but like look at all she's created from that. But like she didn't know that was what was going to happen when she was going through that. Just like for us, like it's so easy to see somebody that's like got, a million followers and blah, 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 and be like, oh my gosh, yeah, but like if I knew I could reach that many people, it would be worth it. But like you never know. You have to lean in, right? Rachel said, I've had a client get death threats on TikTok just from talking about safe sleep practices. Totally. Like you cannot predict this crazy shit. Um, yeah, crazy. Jessica said, oh yeah, posting anti-Trump stuff has been fun. Yeah, I mean, right. Like it's shocking kind of like what that is right now. And I'm not necessarily saying like everyone needs to put themselves at risk or anything, right? But I am saying like I think we just forget like that this is what it is right now. And it's so important to be like, do I have a system that can withstand that? Because um, if you don't have a system where like if you post and you get a bunch of crazy comments, if you have a system that's going to totally shut down in that and go absolutely like into freeze, you're going to be stuck. Like that is really going to impact your business. And again, we all get to choose. Like someone might be like, well, then that's not how I want to grow my business, which is totally fair. But then equally, you have to figure out what else you can handle and hold. So maybe then instead it's ads. Okay, well, can your nervous system hold the risk required with ads, right? Do you have enough risk tolerance to put a bunch of money out there? And like see that through and study the data. All of it comes with a certain level of what can I hold? What can I get through without shutting down, without going into fight or flight or freeze, right? And we really have to be asking ourselves these things, because I think at the core of it, like, more does mean more. It means more team. It means more eyes on you. It means more opinions. It means more, like Rachel was saying earlier, like rejection, criticism, all of it. And if you feel like I couldn't possibly hold that, have that, deal with that, you will always cap yourself, whether you mean to or not. Your brain and body are going to try to keep you safe. And so, like, I think that just is like what we kind of have to come to. It's like, instead of being like, well, what if more didn't have to mean more? And what if, like, sure, I get it. And like, again, in some ways, of course, it's so much easier when you have like more money and resources and that. But like, the end of the day, it's usually what it means. And I think if we acknowledge that truth, then we can really start to solve for the right problems. If we keep chasing the version of success where more doesn't have to mean more at all, man, that's a hard, a hard thing to keep chasing. Um, hey, Elisa. Oh, yay. I'm so glad you made it. I'm sorry it wasn't showing up. More does mean more. So true. Thank you. Yeah, yeah. Yes. Not making yourself wrong if you don't want to hold certain things. Exactly. Like, I really like, so I'll give another example in terms of business models. So for me, some people are like, oh my God, how do you hold a client paying you like 10, 15, 20K a month off of revenue share? Like, I couldn't possibly hold that level of like partnership and responsibility that's so, so, so intense. Equally, I'm like, oh my God, how do you hold a business that had 2,000 students go through it? Like that does not feel like what my nervous system wants, but I can hold the depth and the intensity of the clients all day, every day. So it doesn't mean one thing is right or the other is right, but we have to pick what we're willing to lean into, and we have to go there. I feel like something else I see in our space a lot of times is like people almost want to solve like soft problems. And what I mean by that is like they don't want almost like any responsibility with like actually solving a problem for their client. You know what I mean? So like, they're almost like, well, like, I mean, yes, I want to help them make more money, but I don't want them to like, count on that too much, or like, yeah, I want to help them feel better, but like ultimately, like, I can't like control all of that. And like, of course, yes, we can't control all of it, but like, we have to be willing to go, okay, I'm like really here to help you solve a problem. And like my nervous system can handle part of that responsibility. I don't have to hold all of it. It's not all on me. But like, again, same with my business model, my clients, like I have to be willing to be like, yeah, part of that is my fucking job. Part of that is on me. Part of that is me having to show up in a certain way and troubleshoot in a certain way and hold both the wins and losses of that with them. Can my system hold that? Like, I think let me see what your comments say. I have so much else I want to share there. But I don't want to lose you. Yes, exactly, Jess. You have to get your brain and body on board. Lauren said same, probably about the clients, right? So many things pop up as your business grows. More team. How do I manage people? More money. Yep, totally. More exposure and vulnerability. 100%. Oh, I love that you added a whole module on willingness. So good. And also, why is no one else talking about this? I know, because it's just like not the problem we want to solve, I think, to be honest, Megan, but it's true, right? And I think because it's a lot of work to solve it to a certain extent, right? Like it's not as easy as being like, oh, we'll just set your business model up like this. And I'm not saying that that's like the easy thing that someone's picking on purpose. I'm just saying it's different. Oh, that's what I was gonna say with the partnership model. So like I think unless you had it or like run your business like this, you don't realize like how much your system has to be able to hold that tension of like it kind of is like my job, and it's also almost totally out of my control. And there's such like a tension of that. And I knew like my system is going to have to be able to hold like both the, again, responsibility that kind of comes with that, or like the, you know, like shared responsibility that comes with that, and like the unknown of that, there's like a huge level of unknown as it relates to that. So sorry, my throat's bugging me a little. So like that's where I constantly have to lean in to be like, okay, can my system adjust to this? Is this okay? For a lot of people, they would be like, my system would never be able to like hold that kind of business. And I think it's so easy to like look at a business like mine and be like, oh yeah, but you like have a wait list and you have all these clients and you make great money. It must be so easy. And it's like, yes, many things about that are very easy. And they're very easy while other parts are harder. And I've had to lean in a lot to like what my system thinks about receiving money and about holding responsibility in a client's business and about uncertainty and about surrender and like all of these things. So like, yes, there are parts that are very easy and I could like preach and teach about that all day, but there are also plenty of parts where I'm like, if I'm not actively doing the work there to upgrade my system to hold that, I'm gonna lose my shit. Like, and again, same with anything else. I was with Sarah for this thing. I don't know if any of y'all follow my best friend Sarah. She's amazing. If you don't, you totally should. Hey Jess, good to see you. Yes, being able to hold depth. Yes. Yeah. Lacey said, I've had clients apologize for talking about trauma things. And I'm like, I can hold myself and hold you in this. I'm okay with stuff like that. Yeah, totally. And again, equally, some people are like, no, I'm totally not, but I can hold 2,000 clients or whatever. And it's like either is okay, but like we have to lean into our thing. Oh, Lauren worked with Sarah. Okay. Sarah's amazing. And she has grown like so much recently. And she's really like basically like become a political influencer. It was actually so cool because we went to this is just me being a braggy best friend for a second. But we went to this event last night, like with Shannon Watts that I was talking about earlier. And like we just think she's like awesome, right? And we're sitting at this table and Shannon walks in, she walks up to Sarah and she was like, oh my God, Sarah, I know you. And Sarah was like, the fuck? I mean, it was so cool. It was so fun. It was just like so special that she's like built so much of this up. But anyway, like the point I wanted to make about her is she has had to upgrade so much in herself about like what it means to like get hate, to get like absolutely like insane messages, comments, to feel misunderstood all the time, to feel yeah, like I think rejected all the time, like all of these things that come with it. And equally, she's doing something she like is so passionate about. She feels so fulfilled. She feels so on purpose, on fire. And it's like there's just both always. But it's like we always like our brains want all of the like on purpose, on fire growth, getting recognized by your idol, et cetera, without all of this. And it just doesn't work that way. And again, I think like the more we go, oh yeah, it just doesn't work that way. More is more. It always comes with something else we need to lean into. It gets easier because then we can actually go solve for it, which we can talk about how to solve for it in a second. But this is the gap for so many people is they've like built the structure for seven figures and they're maybe even like strategically doing the right things, but they're like, I can't handle any of that shit. And they keep hitting a wall every time. So curious about the practices you do to level up in that way, like the work that looks for you. Yes, totally. We'll share that. Michelle said, I've loved watching her journey to political influencer. She's so good at it. She really is. I feel like I'm just, obviously very biased, but I think she's phenomenal at it. Lauren said yes. And when there is a mismatch with desire for outcome versus capacity, yes, totally spot on. Thank you for putting this into our take on that. Yes. Okay. So here's how to know. I think like this is a good point. Like, let's talk about like how you could know if this is more of what it is. I'm just going to give a few examples because I feel like sometimes it's helpful to be like, well, is it this or is it not? But if you're like second guessing or looping on decisions a lot, it's probably more something like this. Strategy is usually pretty neutral and simple. So if you find yourself in this second guessing spiral, like, okay, like example, the strategy of like, take a stand on something. And I don't mean just politically, like, I mean, like for me, like I take a stand on like bullshit I see in the coaching industry all the time, right? Take a stand on something is like one of the most obvious and basic, like how to grow on social kind of like philosophies there is. But if you're always second guessing if you should really take a stand and you're looping that decision over and over and you're really what it's probably a capacity or nervous system thing. You get what I mean? Another thing is I think like feeling pressure to say yes to like people or opportunities that you don't want. Um, so that's another thing where it's like, oh, this probably isn't strategy because it can be pretty obvious. Like, does this opportunity serve me or not? My client literally had this other day. She got asked to do something that like seemed quite big and exciting, but like what they were kind of offering her to do that was like, wow, that like really doesn't feel aligned and that does not feel kind of like in integrity really even. And you know, I could see from a strategy perspective, like, hey, this doesn't make sense. But like she had to take a minute to be like, this is not it for me. Like, and my system can handle saying no. Like, I'm not saying yes just because I feel like I'm supposed to say yes to these people or because I feel like it could be good. Like, my body can handle saying no and potentially even burning this bridge because it's not a bridge that I want, right? But I feel like she really had to like kind of get to the point where she was like, oh yeah, I can handle saying no. I can handle saying that doesn't feel okay to me. And so that's like how you know when you're like, well, I'm just gonna say yes because I don't want to burn the bridge and I'll make it work and like that's how you know like you haven't kind of stretched that capacity to like disappoint people. Um, burn a bridge occasionally, like things like that have to happen. If you're like really growing, you're gonna disappoint a lot of people sometimes. And I don't mean in like an unkind way, but I mean like in a, hey, I know you want me to do this thing, but like the exchange doesn't feel equal and that's a no to me. Another thing is like pausing or slowing things down, even when there's like a lot of demand there. Hey Liz. So whatever, like say you thought you were gonna launch this offer, you have a wait list, and then the demand is obvious and you're always kind of like hitting the brakes for one reason or another. You're like, but I kind of did want to move to this other course platform, or, but we should wait until this team member, blah, blah, blah. Or actually, I'm going on a trip then. And I'm not saying you can't plan anything around your life, but if this is like a pattern for you where it's like right when you're like pretty close to being able to hit go on something that's an obvious, like, yes, like, okay, like we're checking the boxes here. That's a really big sign. It's this where you're just kind of always sort of like freezing right before go time. You're kind of always hitting the brakes and there's always a good reason. But there's perpetually a good reason. That's a big sign. I think over like researching or over complicating things, that should be really simple. I was literally having this conversation with one of my clients. She was like asking me questions about something. And I was like, giving her this like really simple answer. I was like, well, I think you just do X. And she was like, yeah, but like, what about da, da, da? And I was like, I still kind of think you just do X. And she was like, yeah, but also, I was like, hey, what's going on? Like, do we see something here? And she was like, oh my God, yeah, totally. Like, here's what I'm actually freaking out about. But she just kept wanting to like find the complication or research it more or think through every nuance and every outcome and every like thing that could possibly happen. And when it was like, actually, it's the strategy is very simple. What's keeping you stuck? What's actually making you not want to do this? Again, sign. I think another one that I've definitely seen with my clients is when a bigger result almost always comes with more anxiety. So it's like you get the result and then something happens. Your brain's like, okay, yeah, I got the result, but oh my God, how are we going to support this many people? Or like, it got the result, but like, oh my God, how am I going to repeat this? Or like, got the result, but like, oh my God, like I'm not that good with managing money. What do I do? Like, if every win or every big win is coming with kind of like something on the other side that creates more intensity and more anxiety, like that's also how you would know something else is going on here. It is not normal for like every bigger and better result to create this kind of like flood in of more intensity and anxiety. Obviously those are not all encompassing, but I do think those are like good examples. You know, of like you like a post and you go to post it and then you stop yourself most times, that kind of stuff. Like if you're like, I know this makes sense to do and I'm acting differently to that, or I know this is a good result and my brain's telling me something different, like that's typically when we're like, okay, this isn't about strategy. Like we don't need to keep solving the same strategic problem. We need to solve like a nervous system or a capacity thing. Like your nervous system is getting really triggered by bigger results. What do we do with that? Your system is getting really triggered by, like the idea of letting more clients in your business. How do we deal with that? So obviously now we can talk about how we deal with it. Hey Manali, you recently working on it. Yeah. I mean, listen, we all do this too. It's not like there's like an end point, but it's always good to solve the right problem. Sarah and I were talking about this last night too, because it's like, okay, so I'll moving into how do we solve it? So in terms of how we solve it, Sarah and I were talking about this last night of like there was a point for both of us where if you would have said like, oh my God, you're going to have like something go viral and you're going to get all this hate comments and you're going to be totally misunderstood and we would have been like, absolutely not. I would have completely crashed out like that would have sent me, that would have whatever. And now it's like, we don't even read them. Like, it doesn't even matter. I mean, her so much more than me, but I dabble. I, and I've had plenty of like, the big virality kind of things where I'm like I made one about, I think the worst one was probably when I made one about getting rid of my Tesla. And I said it in like quite a provocative way. It was about like, I'm too rich to have to drive this, car I hate from this man I hate kind of vibe. And the amount of shit on there, I was just like, okay, I'm just like walking away. But like Lacey of like, however many years ago would have probably read every motherfucking one of those, would have spiraled about it for days, would have like felt all of this stuff around it. And so like the point I want to make in terms of how you solve it is sometimes it literally just is exposure therapy, like incremental exposure. So that's really something to think about of like, what is your like exposure that you can kind of create? Sometimes it's unfortunately just like happening overnight. Um, Emma said, or is it normal until your nervous system recalibrates to a new equilibrium and hold on, and it knows what's new is still safe. Yeah, totally. Jess said yes, and such a difference between releasing versus avoiding. Right. Totally. To be like, that's not even my problem versus like, I can't even look at that because I'll like lose my mind. That's a great point, Jess. So sometimes what I've seen with clients is like the exposure almost happens accidentally overnight. It's something like that where they're like, oh my gosh, like I wasn't really, this kind of is what happened to me, to be honest with you. Like I was kind of playing with reels for probably a couple of months. And then I posted a reel about paying our nanny student loans and it just went absolutely viral and like everyone had something to say about it. And so it was almost like like I had only been like fucking with reels for like a few months. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, this is what it looks like to be completely misunderstood, piss everyone off, blah, 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 blah. And so I kind of had to like get exposed to it really quickly. And I was kind of like, oh yeah, nothing happened. Like I'm fine. My business is fine. I'm okay. And so like that's it. And I've definitely seen that with clients where sometimes it's like, oh my God, they just have this like one big launch where everything blows up and they kind of have to get accustomed to it really quickly. Or sometimes it's smaller, right? It's like we do this on purpose. It's like, okay, well, what does it look like to say that, thing that you want to say in this way? Or like, excuse me, it's like sometimes it's like, where's the safe place to say it? So it's like for me, it might be like, oh, well, I'll go say that in my Facebook group because that feels a little bit safer to me. And then maybe I'll work up to saying it, on a more public platform, et cetera, et cetera. Like, so you can really think about like, what are your like exposure opportunities? Or maybe it's like, I don't know, I'm just like making this up, but like, say you're like really scared of like holding a big group. Maybe one of your peers or friends has like a big group in their program and you go, hey, can I come guest teach for free? I'll teach on this, it'll be like a great bonus for your program. And I get the exposure of holding a big group. There are all kinds of opportunities like that. If you're like really scared of, speaking or being on video, like, can you do that in these small ways that feel safe or at least safer, right? So that you can kind of build up the like, oh, I'm okay. Like, I'm good. And the more you build that up, the easier it gets. Or like, if you think you're really bad at managing money, okay, can you like put aside a little pot of money and like play with it and manage it and create some safety around that? Like, I think so often we think all of this stuff has to be so big. Like, I have to be okay with like a huge amount of virality and all this hate and a money expert and this and that and that. You don't have to have all of that at once, right? You just have to like find these little ways to build it up and create more safety in your body doing it. Um, oh my God, Kate, I love that biz stress inoculation moments. That is epic. I love that. So good. Yeah, every time the thing I'm scared of happening happens, it's not as scary as in my head. 1000%, right? I love holding workshops in other people's groups. It's how I found it easier to talk on camera. I love that. Yes. Michelle said this is so real. Elisa said I started recording myself in public. Definitely still weird, but the exposure therapy works. Totally. I feel like another version of this for me is like Sarah was so far ahead of me on in terms of the like talking about stuff thing. And then like the more we kind of would like record something together or do a reel, I was like, none of this is hard. This is fine. Like I can talk about what I want, I can say what I want, I can record myself. And like, but like she was sort of like a safety point in that. So it was like easier and easier, right? So you just have to find these ways to be like, how can I expose myself in a safer um more kind of like controlled or regulated way. And the more I go, oh yeah, that wasn't even close to as scary as I thought. Oh yeah, that actually wasn't that bad. The easier it gets. Or equally, I kind of had this thing where this was years ago in my business. I think it was right after I got divorced. So it had to be like 2018, where I went on this big kick. I like literally traveled like every week for like 8 weeks or something like that. And I did different like speaking and like co-taught on people's retreats, and I did like all of this stuff. And I really was like, oh, the exposure of that was so great, but it's speaking is honestly not my personal favorite. And so it like really helped because I was able to like both create I'm not scared of it, but it's not what I would choose kind of thing. Where for some of my other clients, they like get the exposure to speaking and they're like, wow, now that I'm not scared of it, it's exactly what I would choose. And so this kind of stuff really helps too, because it helps you actually choose the right thing for you because you're not saying no because you're scared of it. You're like saying no because it's a true no in your body, or yes because it's a true yes, right? Yes to building safety. Every time you make a reel or say the scary thing, you teach your brain and body it's safe to do it. Totally. I also feel like for me, it's important to kind of not live outside of my comfort zone, but to do those exposure therapy things and then come back to my safety zone. Yeah, 100%. And then I also think celebration is such a like a helpful piece. So like, can you like celebrate like whatever that is? Like, wow, I'm celebrating that like I have a client whose name I don't know, or I'm celebrating this crazy man who made this insane comment on my post. Like I've finally made it that he's doing that. Like if you can kind of celebrate the things that feel scary, celebration is like teaching your body it's safe. Like it's truly like a nervous system tool to celebrate. And so you can celebrate some of that or make it a fun celebration or find humor in it or whatever. I think it gets so useful in terms of like, oh, I'm celebrating the no, or I'm celebrating the crazy comment, or I'm celebrating that. And really showing your body like that's how safe it is that I can even celebrate that is really cool. I think another thing is obviously like we won't go into this as much because like I think this one's obvious, but like of course having self-regulation practices, like do you know what calms your body down? Do you know what calms your nervous system down? Do you have ways you're kind of like exhaling, whether it's breath work or working out or anything like shaking, dancing, whatever, like do you have these kind of like practices where you can like discharge high levels of emotion? Obviously that matters. And then the last thing, I mean, this is super obvious too, but it feels important to say is like some of this needs structure, right? Like you might need something to reinforce that safety. So for example, like if you're really freaked out about like having 200 clients, like do you feel like you have a team structure that's safe enough for you to do that? if you're really scared of, um, trying to think of another example of stress. Like if you're really scared, here's a good example. I see this with clients. Like if you're like, I'm really scared of holding more because I'm already holding so much in my home and with my family. And even though I want more for us, the idea of holding so much more is really scary to my system. Well, awesome. Maybe you need to figure out how to get that support. As the nervous system thing is an awareness that it's creating for you, but it doesn't mean your only solution is like expand your capacity more and more internally. Sometimes it's like get external support that allows me to rest in this capacity. So it's like, oh, if I have more home support, I actually do feel like I could hold more clients because I'm not holding or managing everything. Or like, oh, if I had a really solid OBM, I actually would feel like I could let more clients into my program. There would be a safety there. So there, like external safety is very real. Okay. Like we don't have to pretend that that's not real. Of course, a lot of this is internal, but some of it's just like, okay, I have to go internal to figure out what's actually going on, listen to myself, and then I can bring about an external solution as well. Um, Yes, Jess, I love that. Every time my client gets a troll, we celebrate. I'm like, yes, you're visible. Exactly. Hey, Liz, she said, I've been playing around with asking myself, what do I want if there were no barriers or triggers instead of thinking about all the fears I have and how to avoid them. Yes, at the thing I went to with Shannon, I'm pointing over here because I have her book, but at the thing with Shannon last night, she said that she has like women do an exercise of like very similarly, like what's like 20 things that you actually want if there were like no barriers to getting in, to actually like take the time to write out all 20, and how like so many people struggle to even get there because they're so wired to be like, but I couldn't because. And so some of this is just being like, where are my edges where it's a story, and where are my edges where it's like truly a problem, like that I could reasonably solve, like, okay, well, I couldn't get there because I'm holding these 20 things at home. Okay, well, like, is there a solution to that, Um, I'm gonna do that today. I love that. Yeah, I know. I was like, I needed to take that away. That was so good. Um, but like, you get what I'm saying. Maybe it's a great coach. Maybe your coach helps regulate your system. A lot of my clients say that to me. They're like having a kind of like a partnership feeling, and having you so like in my business is like really a strong regulation tool. Maybe it's like having that great OBM. Maybe it's having more home support. Maybe it's having a really hard conversation with your partner about how like they need to step up more if you're going to hold more. Like all of these are nervous system tools as much as anything else is. Because you have to create feelings of safety, and we can't pretend we're safe when we're not. You know what I mean? Like that's not helpful to us to like gaslight ourselves. I mean, women have been doing that for so long in patriarchy, right? But it's not helpful to us to gaslight ourselves and go, no, it truly is safe. It's fine. Like, actually, it's really smart that I think it's not safe for me to hold all of this because it will fall apart, because it kind of might. Like if I'm holding 500 things, the likelihood that I drop the ball on something important is high. So like, actually that's my body and my system being wise and saying to me, hey, you might need to get some more support to be able to expand this. And I really think that 7-figure thinking is like, what is actually going on with me? And then like, what are the structures I need to make that feel safe? You know, like who are the people I need? What are the resources I need? Whatever. Like maybe one of the resources is exposure therapy. Maybe one of the things is a person in my corner holding things with me. Like these are real tools, right? Elisa said, and connection. Yes, totally. Such a nervous system regulation tool to have true supportive network and people you trust. 1000%. Even like same with like the posting online thing. Like, one of my kind of like safety things there is I'm like, well, I feel like I could say anything. Um, as long as I said it like with my truth in my heart. And even if it was misunderstood, I know I have like a really strong network of people that know me, know my heart, know my work, know how I show up. And that is incredibly safety producing for me, where I'm like, even if people on a broader scale misunderstand me, I have a really strong network of people that like know my integrity and my heart. And like that feels really safe. So I think that these are all different like tools, but at the end of the day, that's the work in so many ways. Your strategy can expand quickly. Again, what I said before is like strategy can scale faster than your capacity. And strategy should feel relatively neutral. It shouldn't feel like loops or spins or spirals or freezes. And so when other things are happening where it's not as easy as a strategic decision, or it feels like you're constantly in this state of getting stuck around something, it's probably this. And if you figure that out, it's going to be so much easier to grow, and it's going to keep happening. Like it's going to keep happening to me. It's going to keep happening to my clients. It's not like you figure it out once and it's done. But the more you can actually problem solve for like, oh, this is actually what's happening, the easier it gets to solve it. So hopefully that helps. That is the message for today. And just thank you guys always for being here. It means so much to me to get to have these conversations with you every Monday. I obviously won't be here next Monday because it is a holiday and we are off, but I will see you the Monday after that. So I hope you guys have a beautiful week. Bye, y'all.